Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming to our talk about almost second month of the war. We are starting the second month of the Ukrainian war with Russia, or Russian war with Ukraine. And there is a talk that it is a beginning of the Third World War, but we don't want to think in that way. We are hoping that the conflict that Russia started will be kept within Ukraine. And we are hoping that this conflict will be resolved very soon. We are hoping that Ukraine will win and that Russia will be punished for all the war crimes committed in Ukraine. Today, we are going to talk to women who are now in London. Maria lived in London for a long time. Tonya lived in London for a long time. And Olga, who came to London from Kiev after Kiev was bombed. And welcome to listen to their stories. And I just want to ask you, how do you feel right now, ladies? How do you feel about the situation?
Maria, go first.
Yes. Yes, Tonya, how do you feel about the situation?
The situation, well, it's been more than a month since the war started, and it feels like it's been a year. Every day is an intense day. Every day starts with checking whether your relatives, your parents are okay. It's almost like living two lives in parallel, trying to manage, the life here. Obviously, I have a job, I have responsibilities to take on, but at the same time, really being there for my family, friends, and really for the people of Ukraine, because this tragedy is not only about my closest people, but I really feel for the entire country. I was born and raised there, and I have been living abroad for about 7 years now. So it's I'm definitely not far from that one, from this tragedy. So I would say this is how I feel right now.
Tonya, how do you feel?
So for me, I'm also, I have lived like 28 years of my life, and it's like pretty much Kiev is my home place, like all the London has become, but pretty much a very big piece of my life is there, and it's my country. And I was reflecting on it a bit today, and I realized that a lot of the time I feel I had a similar, I was trying to recall when I was feeling the same way as I feel right now for the past months. And I realized that I felt like this when I was visiting a Holocaust museum in Berlin last time. So it's quite emotional. I can't explain. I would say for the first days of the war, you were just on alert about everyone, about all your friends and all the people and your family. But since the situation has expanded, and with all the war crimes we see there, it's just an immense amount of grief, and you're just trying to find a place where you can help, where you can do something, and you can justify, like not being there personally and helping out. So yeah, it's that's the way I feel, I want to say.
Thank you very much. And I would like to ask Olga now. Оля, как ты себя... sorry, I will probably do it in English and then Tony will translate. Оля, how do you feel right now about the whole situation?
Оля, как ты себя чувствуешь сейчас вот в данной ситуации, или когда ты была в Киеве и сейчас после переезда?
На українському можу?
Да,
Так, звичайно.
добре.
Мгм.
Я не можу, я пробую писати.
Yes, so I have been in London since 9th of March and have been trying to contemplate my state of mind and like how to describe and find the words to what is happening. And I simply can't. Have been trying it for days, and since the day the war has started, before that we had plans for living, we had life, we had, our homes, our beds, and our dreams, and now it's all gone. And all the family, now I'm in relative safety. I'm safe right now from the war, but thinking about my family, my friends, my husband who are left in Ukraine, their safety, it's a very relative term. They're safe for 1 minute, for 1 second right now, and next minute you don't know at all what's happening, and you're trying to contemplate it.
Це постійний тривожний стан.
And I would like to ask Ola now, sorry, not Ola, Tonya. I would like to ask Tonya. Tonya, do you feel similar things for your relatives who are in Ukraine right now?
Definitely, I can echo that. Absolutely, it's like, with all the news, with all the threats, I think unfolding every day, you almost live in the constant state of anxiety, anticipating that the next moment something horrible might happen, and you have no idea where it's going to hit. My parents have moved to another part of the country, but really nowhere is safe, and it's a lottery, and we all live in a lottery state of being right now, and it's constantly, my mind would go back to my family, thinking, okay, how are they doing? Constantly checking the news. It's very hard to focus on anything else. Even if you try, you just get diverted again to the latest developments. And it's not something one can get used to. It's just not possible. And I was saying to myself, oh, Tanya, you need to find a way to almost like distract yourself from the news, because you also need to take care of yourself, because if you cannot take care of yourself, you cannot take care of others. But it's extremely hard.
Thank you very much. I'm really sorry, because I think we all feel really awful, and I am from Belarus, but that touches me deeply as well, because I've got some distant relative. I've been to Kiev, and this is really horrific what is happening right now. And there is a relative safety for those who came in, and I know that Olga came in not long time ago. Ola, how was it for you? How easy was it to get through immigration and to come here to London?
Оля, ти недавно приїхала, і хотіла тебе спитати, наскільки це було важко чи легко тобі пройти через всі імміграційні процеси, щоб приїхати в Лондон?
Я виїхала на другий день війни.
Yeah, so I left Kiev on 25th of February, and I was in a village just outside of Kiev, and where I had a friend and her mom that kind of persuaded me to come with them and leave the country. They have been traveling, and then their kind of very long journey to the border has started with women in one car, with women and several dogs traveling with them. And usually so the first leg of their journey was just to get to the highway, to start getting to the western border of Ukraine, and it took them 6 6 hours, where normally it takes 25 minutes to get there because the people are trying to get out. And that journey was really difficult and really hard, and it took a couple of days. And then they started queuing on the border, and it was very stressful, and they had unfortunately they got to know, or we saw the person who died just when standing in the queue. Then overall, kind of the crossing, so it took them a day and a half. It took us a day and a half to get through the border, and after that, a person, a man, had met us on the Polish side and help us drive in the car, because our friend, a woman who was driving the car, just couldn't physically do it anymore after such a long journey. And since then, we got to the place called Ukrainian on Polish side, and that's where we crossed the border. And then my sister has rented an apartment for us where we could rest for a couple of days. When we arrived there, my sister has arrived, and I've come to know that my father and my dad had a heart attack in the meantime, and he died. So after that, I couldn't really think straight, and I relied completely on my sister and making all the decision and just answered all the questions that she asked me, and she applied for the visa, and I generally understood that it's the right decision to go with her to London.
Thank you. It's a horrific journey. I just want to ask one more question. Was it easy to get the visa to come to UK?
Оля, ще одне питання. Це була дуже важка подорож. Лише одне питання з приводу, наскільки було легко отримати візу в UK?
Значить, моя сестра записала нас, і вона якось
we got to the thankfully my sister managed to get us an appointment in the visa center that was actually arranged in Warsaw in a hotel. And but it was more like it was mentally still really hard, because you come there and you see all the Ukrainian refugees. Majority of them are women and children, and there was very big contrast seeing this quite a fancy hotel. When you get to the lobby, it's all fancy and beautiful, but when you get to the area where all the refugees are gathered, it's very contrasting, and you can't and you feel really bad for everyone, and you can feel the suffering, all the people who had to leave.
Значить, в мене були всі документи, які моя Лена роздрукувала безкоштовно в цьому готелі на ресепшені.
So thankfully I was pleased that my sister, when we got there, my sister was able to print all the documents there for free, and kind of all the documents we needed to submit. But I was all the time when we got there, I was really worried about giving away my passport, because it was something really important that I was, for all my journey, I was holding on, kind of like the old way where we used to do. We used to keep money and your documents really close to under your clothes.
Тобто, і ми подали в суботу документи, і 8 березня, субота це було 5 березня, і 8 березня ми вже отримали.
I was really pleased that and because of that, I was really pleased that the procedure did not require me to leave my passport there with anyone. I just needed to come back, and they stamped the visa into my passport, and I take it back. Так, Оль, дякую.
Да, дякую велике. Yeah, so that wasn't that difficult, I guess. And I'm hoping that this process got much easier since then for many people who are trying to come to see their relatives or find refuge with their relatives in UK. Thank you very much, Olga, for this talk and for this explanation. And just to conclude, ladies, I would like to ask you, Tonya and Maria, about the political situation now in Ukraine, because I know you must follow it because I'm following it, so you obviously follow it as well. There is a talk in the Western world, especially in America, on CNN. There was a talk about pro-Russian party in Ukraine that was forbidden and sort of stopped for the time of the war. And I do understand the decision behind it, but not many American people and not many English people can actually understand what's happening. Could you please explain a little bit about what was the essence of this decision to stop that pro-Russian party from Ukrainian point of view, from the point of view of your politics? Tonya, if you'd like to go first.
Yes, I think for the moment, the entire effort is directed at unifying the nation. So clearly, before the war started, there were various parties with different interests, including the pro-Russian parties. However, I think everyone realizes now that this war is something bigger than the internal politics in Ukraine. And I think in Ukraine and beyond, the world realized that this needs to stop. And for that, you need to pause and stop everything that could lead to just internal disputes, really unnecessary thing right now, that could just be the waste of energy and resources. So I think really the political direction that is being taken right now is that everyone is fighting for Ukraine. Everyone is really making an effort for the war to stop, to support the people. And after this horrific war is over, I'm sure it will be a very difficult time. And a lot of work will need to be done to rebuild the country. And of course, there will be political divergence in different parties popping up. But for the time being, we need to win.
Thank you very much. Maria, what do you think?
I will probably share, like, I want to say it's my personal opinion here. In terms of kind of political life in Ukraine, obviously the impact of Russia, it's like obviously the geographical position and our history, it's the gravity of Russia and the grip of Russia that we have been living in since the independence. It kind of never left Ukraine. And obviously, you know, the years of propaganda in Soviet Union is still very strong on people inside the country. So pro-Russian forces find their support. And from democratic terms, you could argue that, you know, they should have a representation. And that's what Ukraine has never objected that in the years of independence. But since the wartime, the laws are different. And with all the investigations that need to be made, you know, to do it properly and by law, and to ban those parties in the peaceful time, that job unfortunately haven't been done before the war. Right now, as Tonya said, we need to win this war. And there is enough evidence, and I trust this evidence, that people in those pro-Russian forces are really working a lot with Kremlin. And you know, we can't allow that. I am definitely for the lawful process, and you know, going through all of the procedures. I think this is right. But right now, the country is fighting for its life. It's a different situation. You need to make these decisions, and I think it's a right decision. in the grander scheme of things, all post-Soviet Union, all the countries are struggling with the legacy of KGB, and Russia didn't come out of this legacy. They have come to the power, and I think until all the KGB, until all the history and KGB archives are opened up for everyone and publicized, we can't really change the situation in the region. So I think for now the decision is correct, and I can see the unity in the Ukraine, all the rest of the political parties in Ukraine, and I'm very pleased. I didn't expect that, and I think overall it's the right decision, because those political forces definitely collaborated, and with what we see now is are war criminals. If there were still politicians, that could be a question, but we see that they are really war criminals. They're behaving as terrorists. We can't allow anyone who collaborating with them.
Thank you very much. Yes, I do understand it, and it is very nice that we put this point across to British public, who obviously puzzled and not necessarily understands why this decision was taken and what was happening in the country. Well, ladies, I wish you all the best, and thank you so much for coming and sharing your views, ideas. And Olga, thank you so much for coming and talking about your story. And I wish you to win, and I wish us all to win, because I really want Ukraine to win this war, honestly. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This is what is happening now in Ukraine. The pro-Russian party have stopped working temporarily till the end of the conflict. People are struggling to get to United Kingdom, to connect to their relatives. It is a long process, but I'm hoping that this process is getting better and easier. Volunteers working around the world in this massive humanitarian effort to help women and children, to help wounded, to help people to get over the atrocity of this horrific war. And of course, we all are with Ukrainians, our hearts are with Ukrainians. And even if we are living abroad, it doesn't mean that we are not suffering, because we are still watching this war from apart, but our hearts are with all people who are now in Ukraine, who are now in Kiev, in Mariupol, and in Kharkiv, and in Lviv, in every part of Ukraine, because this country is not safe. And unfortunately, it is still attacked by Russian forces. Thank you. Thank you.